can I just ask you, Mr Skidmore, in response to question number 254, which I placed on notice last estimates and which related to the Government's Aviation Safety Regulation Review, CASA replied, and I appreciate you weren't the Director of CASA at the time, that in response to the review was a matter for the Government. Given that the review made very specific and concerning statements in relation to CASA and its relationship with industry, is it still your position that CASA, it's not appropriate to respond in respect of that, or is that something that you, as the new Director, may be taking a different view in terms of responding to the Government's Aviation Safety Regulation Review?
I'm sorry, I just got to understand the actual question.
Let me break it down. There was the Government's Aviation Safety Regulation Review contained a number of specific and concerning statements in relation to the relationship between CASA with industry. CASA felt at the time, in answer to a question on notice that I provided, question 254, that it was not appropriate to respond in respect of those specific concerns. Is it your view, and I don't mind if you take this on notice, that CASA may reconsider that position of not commenting about issues of the relationship between CASA and industry which were described in the Government Aviation Safety Regulation Review, which I think objectively would be described as concerning in terms of a breakdown in parts of the relationship between CASA and parts of industry?
I think it's fair to say, Senator, that we have only just received the draft statement of expectations. We are rolling and looking at and working with the board in regards to the ASRR responses, and we'll be putting that forward as an implementation plan. I have that by the end of April. But in regards to any concerns with industry, I'm trying to break down the barriers and get communication flowing, and that's why I'm in this job.
So you do concede that there have been in the past barriers between industry and CASA?
I'm aware the ASRR put that forward as a view.
So it's something that view you are attempting to redress?
I will attempt to redress a view of that perception. I can't say because I wasn't involved in that discussion whether it was me, whether it was actually occurring or not, but I do intend. I have 4 principles that I've been outlining to my people. Communication is the first one.
Sure. Can I just go to the issue of this committee's report into aviation accident investigations, which focused on the Pelair ditching off Norfolk Island in 2009. Have you had an opportunity to read that report?
I must admit that I was given a number of reviews and reports as I walked into the door and took up the position. I did review, I skimmed through it, but I couldn't give you an exact answer in regards to any recommendations that were in there.
Let me put something to you in relation to that report, which Senator Fawcett played a pivotal role. I want to acknowledge his role in terms of that very comprehensive report and the role of the Secretariat. That report raised some serious concerns about CASA's interactions with the ATSB in terms of information sharing. I don't think it's unfair to say that there was broad concern that CASA may have withheld information from the ATSB contrary to the MOU that revealed deficiencies in CASA's oversight of Pelair. My question to you is, how has the culture in CASA changed, or how will it change to ensure that those concerns in the Senate report and those findings in the Senate report won't be repeated?
I think if you're in regards to ensuring that we have good lines of communication between the ATSB and CASA, that's part of the Memorandum of Understanding that we're in the process of reviewing with the ATSB right now. So I'll ensure that that's picked up in that review.
And I'm happy to, ask you further questions on this, because there was, I think, quite a seminal report about aviation safety investigations and the interrelationship between the agencies. Further, in respect of that report, you may be aware of the significant regulatory failures found within Pelair by CASA after the ditching, both in a special audit and in the Chamber's report. Does the former chief pilot of Pelair, who was with the company when these breaches occurred, now hold or held recently a regulatory compliance position within CASA?
I can't answer that with my information.
Mr Farquharson may know. I'm not sure whether...
I am aware that he did.
Because this is something that Senator Heffernan was particularly interested in, in terms of the former chief pilot of Pelair working with CASA. Yeah.
I'm aware that he did join CASA. I'm not sure whether he is still with us.
Could you take that on notice, please? And if he did leave, what date did he leave? Now,
That was in regard to the downgrading of the incident, Judge
Yes.
McCall.
what due diligence did CASA undertake to ensure this individual was not responsible for the many and significant breaches found within Pellair and therefore arguably unsuitable to hold such a role within CASA? I'm happy that to be taken on notice, but it is a key.
I think we'll have to take it on notice.
Sure. Further, the report raised concerns about the regulatory oversight of aeromedical flights and whether they were appropriately classed as aerial work for the purpose of regulation. Does CASA have any review or further consideration of the aerial work category planned?
I'll get Mr Peter Boyd, Executive Manager Standards, to answer that. We are undertaking some work in that area.
Senator, your question about whether or not the aeromedical flights have been reviewed in terms of its regulatory approach, and I can say...
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
just your question about whether the aeromedical flights regulatory status has been reviewed, and I can say yes, it has. There have been a number of CASA and industry meetings around the positioning of those particular flights within the regulatory suite. There's been consultation on their inclusion within the air transport regulatory rules, CASA Part 121, 135 and 133. At the moment we are preparing a regulatory package to include them in those regulations.
Okay, and just further to that, can CASA provide an update on the progress of its discussion paper into community service flights, and have any particular oversight concerns been raised?
Oversight concerns around the...
in terms of the issue of community service flights.
Do you mean in regards to the discussion paper itself?
Yes.
Senator? The discussion paper came out last year. We had a significant number of input in regards to the discussion paper. It was a discussion paper to raise a number of areas that CASA wanted to explore and see if there are other options available in regards to the community service flights. I had discussions with Angel Flight last year myself and again earlier this year. We have come to the conclusion that there is no requirement to change anything at this stage. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to continue to review community service flights.
Sure. And I do have some technical questions that I will put on notice. I'm just concerned about time constraints, Chair.
We are going to champagne and biscuits at 6:30.
Okay. Can I just ask you, Mrs Skidmore, you indicated that there are...
He's joking. Can we just put on Hansard, he's joking. In case... I'm on Feb fast, so there's no champagne no matter what. Sparkling water.
I thought it was a given that the Chair was
You never
taking to be
know.
joking. Mrs Skidmore, in terms of the 4 principles that you've referred to, I think you've said communications. The other 3 principles are...
Communication, cost, complexity and consistency.
And I think they're all very, very clear, concise, laudable goals. How do you propose to carry them out?
I'm starting from the top in regards to getting out there and talking to my people, talking to the aviation community as well, so that's the communication part of that. I'm looking to cut out and review the cost implications for CASA in regards to regulation change and everything we do. I'll also be working with the community to understand what the cost of regulation change is for them as well. In regards to complexity, I want to drive complexity out of my processes and procedures, regulations as best we can through a continuous improvement process. And in consistency, I need to ensure that everything we do in regards to our approach that we take and our education process, our understanding of the regulation, how we conduct audits and surveillance has got to be consistent.
Bloody hell, you'd have been good outside Jimmy Sharman's boxing tent.
Can I just say, look, I just want to put on the record, I am grateful for the time that you spent with the Licensed Aircraft Engineers Association the other day in terms of, I think, genuine concerns they have in respect of some new regulations. I think you spent, I was there for about an hour and a quarter, you were there for all of 2 hours. I don't think the issues haven't yet been resolved, is that right? We're still at loggerheads on that one.
Unfortunately, we didn't come to a common agreement.
All right, let's see.